Are you taking care of yourself? Are you taking care of yourself? You sure? Today we are going to talk about self-care and what it means for your process as an artist. And obviously I don't know what it's gonna mean for your process as an artist because I don't know your process. But I do know that my process as a creative and somebody who writes and does film and makes music, that I never really thought about self-care in the beginning of my career as a musician and a film person. Just a little quick background on me. I traveled the country with the band, a live band, for about 7 years. And self-care to me in those years almost felt like an insult. I mean, what are you talking about? I need to take care of myself. I need to take care of this music. And a lot of what happened was little to no sleep, a lot of drinking, and a lot of travel, eating poorly, and then a lot more drinking. So the idea was that I've always been a runner and have always worked out, and that sometimes felt like it compensated for the unhealthy lifestyle I would live while on the road. And when you're touring with the band, I mean, there's no such thing as healthy food. I mean, there absolutely can be. You better prep and bring it in the cooler, but mama, there's nothing like stopping at a McDonald's at 3 a.m. after you get that show done and you're headed to Philadelphia from Pittsburgh and you just gotta eat something. And so self-care just seemed like non-existent to me. That's partially why I stopped touring, just because the toll it takes on your body and your brain. But anyways, all that aside, what self-care has done for me now as an artist, I've started going to therapy. I stopped eating meats, took a 30-day detox off of booze, as I'm currently right now. I think it's like day 19 or 20. And I'm very, very, very intentional about what I put into my body. And even coffee, like if I have 2 cups, then I don't know if I'm gonna be able to really write what I wanna write. I might need to have a pastry to to cushion the caffeine rush. But all that being said, the idea is that your mindset is always in the place of, okay, am I taking care of myself? Because sometimes when we don't take care of ourselves, things happen that aren't necessarily helping our process, and we're wondering what's going on. Like, why did this happen? Why is this not working the way it is? Why am I not able to pay attention? Why am I not able to be present? And a lot of that could be the way that you're taking care of yourself. And it comes off as external circumstances when really that stuff is happening with you. That's all in your body. And for one, it's taking responsibility for you taking care of you. And once you start doing that, your perspective will change entirely. And so some of the changes I've made in what I mentioned earlier with diet and therapy is that it forces me to go inward. And the first thing I start doing is taking responsibility for myself. And so when I do that, I'm then able to, give myself a lot of grace and really not shame myself if I don't write anything that day. I may sit down at the coffee shop for 2-3 hours, not get a single bar out. And that's what it is. I may have a script due, and it just I don't get it done when I said I'm gonna get it done, and then I just gotta call that script supervisor and say, look, I'm sorry, but I need about another week. And with art, there really is no such thing as a deadline unless you're actually on set. But there's no such thing as a deadline in the pre-production of anything. And so when you're writing, you gotta give yourself that space and give yourself that time to actually process what it is that you want to put together. And so take care of yourself. And that may look different to different people. Self-care may look different to different people. It may be stopping something. It may be adding something. It may be pausing something altogether. Whatever it is, figure out what self-care is to you, start to implement it, and it goes from conscious competence to unconscious competence. And you'll just start being competent regardless of whether you're mindful of it or not. So definitely be wary of that and take care of yourself. If you're writing or doing film or anything, film I know is a tough one because final example I'll give, I worked on a set for a year and a month. I had an acting gig and I was like, oh, this is my life. My life is gonna be great. And they brought these lunches in, and I would absolutely, because I had been broke for so long and eaten so scarcely, I would eat as much as I could. And next thing I know, an hour later, I'm super tired on set. I had gained about 25 pounds over the course of that year and a month. And it affected not only my energy, my body, and the way that I interacted with people, but I was just very unconscious. I was in a lane of unconscious incompetence, and I didn't know why everything was falling apart until I was actually aware of it. What I was eating, drinking, and how I was treating people in that period. But that being said, be mindful of what you're doing, what you're putting into your body at all times, and then look at how that affects your process. How does that cup of tea or that cup of coffee affect your process? It may sound crazy right now, but it actually does. So I wish you the best of luck with that, and I hope that you are mindful down the road. Check out my Patreon at patreon.com/Toussaint Morrison and talk about process and mindfulness. There's a lot of that in there, and you get a lot of behind-the-scenes videos, unreleased tracks, unreleased films, and all that good stuff. Patreon.com/Toussaint Morrison. And I forgot the final sign-off thing. What was the final thing I was saying in these videos? It was the Patreon, and then what was the last thing? I forgot what it is, but it's in the other videos. I love y'all. Thank you for watching. Bye-bye.